award-winning journalist, business owner, and master storyteller. Please welcome Jamie Perez.
I found my mind, I'm feeling sane. It's been a while, but I'm finding my faith. If everything's good and it's great, why do I sit and wait till it's gone?
Oh my goodness. I am so excited to be here, and this is a really amazing homecoming for me. For those of you in the audience that knew me when I lived here in Madison, I moved to California, so the chance of snow on today kind of scared me and freaked me out. Does anybody know if it's snowing out? Is it snowing? It is? Raining? Raining I can deal with. We get rain in California. Okay, I'm a little less angry. No, it's seriously so good to be here. Speaking and telling about my story is something that I am incredibly passionate about, and I think that before I get into my own, I would really like to just acknowledge all of the women that have gotten up on this stage to tell their stories and truths tonight. Yes. That is not an easy thing to do, to come up here with the lights and the stage and the spotlights and open up your heart and your soul to people, some people that you don't even know, and just completely pour your heart out and be completely vulnerable. So I know the feeling. It is very gut-wrenching. The butterflies are real. These women have worked very hard to tell their stories, and I have done the same. And one thing I know about everyone in this room, regardless of whether I know you from my time here or not, one thing I know about all of you is that we all have mountains to climb. These mountains that put obstacles in our path that are financial, emotional, mental, physical burdens that we are all trying to get past. I mean, I think that's why we are all here today, is because we connect with stories. We connect with people's hearts and their emotions, and it is what makes us truly authentic. I believe that authenticity is the only way to free your mind, and it is the only way to live your life. For the people that know me, know that a year ago, last August, I left Madison rather abruptly. And it is a true homecoming to be back on this stage right now, a year later, to tell you that it really was not an abrupt decision. It was quite a long time coming. And the things that I'm going to share with you tonight, my vulnerabilities and me pouring my heart out to you right now on this stage, I want to show you and inspire you that you can turn your pain into purpose, your losses into your lessons, and your traumas into your trophies. And in order to do that, it's important that you understand where I came from. I grew up in a middle-class home in Sacramento, California, to an abusive father and a mother who never gained the strength to leave to this day. The environment that I grew up in caused me to be extremely depressed, carry a lot of anxiety. Self-isolation was a way of survival. Shutting down was a way of survival, to just stay afloat and keep from drowning. Self-confidence wasn't there. And anybody who has grown up in an environment like this knows the feeling. I either spent my childhood feeling too many things or feeling nothing at all, and that is not a good place for a child to be. The survival tactics that you learn as a kid that once kept you safe, as an adult will keep you small. The decisions that I made in my life, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I was so lost as a kid. I was so quiet and shy. I would not believe that I could be standing on this stage today telling you about all of this and opening my heart when my entire childhood I was just living in the privacy of my own soul and keeping it all within and putting the face on. And that led to my decision as an adult to become a TV news reporter, actually. I grew up in Sacramento, and I did a couple of years at City College there. I moved to Los Angeles to get my degree in broadcast journalism, and my first job on air was at an ABC station in Sioux City, Iowa, where I was known as an MMJ, or multimedia journalist. And basically what that means is that I did everything from start to finish. I found the story ideas, I set up the interviews, I filmed them, I edited them, I did the on-camera thing, and then I wrote up the web story for the news station's website at the end of the day, all on deadline every single day. I filled in at the anchor desk, I was a fill-in producer, but most of the time I was out in the field reporting on stories. The days that I loved the most as a TV news reporter were the days that I got to tell heartfelt and emotional stories. I never got into news because I love crime and politics. I got into it because of the platform that it gave people to share their voice, something that I could never do as a child, and something that really healed me when I got to take these voices that were so underrepresented, they're so underserved, and I could turn them into something meaningful as a news reporter. After 2 years in Iowa, I came here to work at a station in Madison, and I was doing essentially the same things for about 4 years. While I loved my job in TV news and the stories that I got to tell and the wonderful people that I met because of it, there are several things that I did not love. I did not love that knowing that I had a history of mental health that I was battling. I knew that in order to lead the positive life that I wanted to lead, I could not be surrounded by negative thoughts. And we all know that the news is not filled with positive stories. And so often I would pitch the positive stories, and often they would get thrown on the back burner because of the breaking news of the day or the harder news that needed to lead a newscast, right? If it bleeds, it leads. It's a saying that we say in news. And my stories about puppies and community service would not lead a 6 o'clock newscast. But also, the pay was not sustainable. A lot of people have a misconception about what TV news reporters make. They think that just because you're on TV that you are making a good living, and that's just not true. At my first job in Iowa, I made $22,000 a year. That's with a 4-year degree. When I came here to Madison, that jumped up to 35, and then I had to beg to be kept at 40. So I'm 6 years in, and I'm making an entry-level salary for what most jobs would start you at. And it wasn't sustainable. I loved getting to meet people, I loved the platform, but that just wasn't gonna do it for me for the rest of my life. And I knew that I wanted to tell heartfelt stories 100% of the time because it just healed me to give people that platform. So eventually in September of 2021, I left news and I started my own business called Beyond Words Productions. And my mom actually came up with that name. Thank you. My mom came up with the name of my business when I was establishing it. I was having a really difficult time doing it, and she told me that knowing that I like to tell heartfelt stories, if a picture says 1,000 words, your videos will leave people beyond words. So I focus on telling heartfelt and emotional stories now for businesses and nonprofits. I built the business here in Madison for 3 years. And the partner that I was dating at the time was the person that actually encouraged me to do this. And when I left news, there's a little bit of a side story that happened in between me building my business and me leaving news. So I left and I didn't immediately start this business. I had a job working at this was post-pandemic city news. It wasn't news, it was a community newsletter to try to amplify community events that were going on and promote new businesses and new restaurants to try to boost the economy and get things going in the city of Madison. 2 days into me working at that job, I got a threatening email from my former news station saying that if I didn't quit, they were going to sue me, citing a non-compete. I didn't believe that what I was doing was in competition with them. So I ignored the email. And unfortunately, when people leave news, this kind of stuff happens all the time. It's a way for them to flex their muscle because they don't want you to leave, especially if you are going to stay in the same market that you worked in. So I ignored the email, and a week later, I had a follow-up email from the same attorney threatening me again, and this time harassing me, very cruel and rude. How dare you ignore me? If you do not quit your job, we are suing you. So I was a little nervous, and I went to the CEO of the company that I was working for that was based on the East Coast, and I told him what was going on. He was like, "Is this about a non-compete?" And I said, "Yeah." And he's like, "Let me just talk to them because we have worked with former TV news reporters in other markets that we are established in. Once we explain to them what it is we do, we've never had an issue. So you're gonna keep your job, you're fine. Several weeks later, so I'm a month into this job, I get on a call with the CEO, and HR is on the call. And that's never a good sign. So they had talked to my former management and said basically that they did not care if this was not directly in competition. The CEO had explained to him that we will give you exclusive partnership, we will give you advertising, we will do all the things that a true competitor would not do, and said that they did not care, and that if they did not fire me that day, that they were coming after both of us. So a month into this job, I was fired. I had no money, right? What I was making as a TV news reporter, I was maybe able to save, after 6 years of working in news, I was maybe able to save $2,000 to $3,000, and that's all I had. So I had lost my insurance, I had no income, I had no money, and I had no idea what I was gonna do. I was so afraid to get another job because I was terrified that they would do the same thing to me no matter what I was doing, no matter where I went. As long as I was in Madison, I was fearful that I couldn't work anywhere doing what I do, just telling stories. So when I started this business, I had to do it in secret. I worked my tail off, going to networking events, trying to get people to do business with me, trying to get an income and just get people to believe in me and do business with me. But at the end of every client that I worked with, I had to tell them, please don't tell anybody what I'm doing, because I was still legally obligated to the news station, unfortunately, for at least a year after I quit, which is exactly what you don't want to do when you're building a business. You want people to tell, but I couldn't. I had to keep it a secret, and I think it hurt my heart and soul so deeply that all I wanted to do was tell heartfelt stories. And someone out there was trying to block me from doing that, something that is so healing for me and so healing for everybody else. And I couldn't do it out in the open. I couldn't share my voice. After a year of hustling and trying to do this in secret, I was eventually able to market myself. I built the website, I put the social media up, and my business took off. The community support that I had for this business that I was building was incredible. I would have never built the business that I have today had it not been for the people of Madison supporting my dream and supporting what I was doing, both as a news reporter and as a business owner and storyteller. But while I was out promoting these positive, heartfelt stories and promoting peace, love, and positivity, behind closed doors, I was experiencing everything but that. Every time I looked in the mirror, I saw a reflection of my mom and what she was going through because of the relationship that I found myself in. This little girl that once learned all these survival methods to be quiet, keep your head down, don't say anything, put the face on. You know how to do this. You're a news reporter. You go on camera and you smile and you do the face and you put the personality on and everything's okay and you're going to go home at the end of the day and you're going to deal with it. And after 4 years of dealing with it, of listening to this little girl that I had closeted and ignored, she was banging on the door, begging me to leave. And I wouldn't listen for years because I knew that if I did, I was going to lose everything. And in that moment, I understood why my mom had such a hard time leaving, why so many women have such a hard time leaving. It takes up to 7 times for women attempting to leave an abusive relationship in order for them to finally leave. I was a statistic, but I wasn't going to stay one. After so many times of me telling myself, okay, the next time this happens, then I'll leave, and the next time this happens, then I'll leave, and then I'll do this. And it just never did. And it just built up and it killed me inside. And so this little girl inside me was just screaming. And the pain became so crippling every day that I could no longer ignore it. And I knew I was going to lose everything. I knew that I was about to walk into a storm that I had no idea the magnitude of. But I knew that if if I didn't leave, I was going to be doing this for the rest of my life. So I made the decision to leave, and it cost me $30,000 up front to get everything out and to move. While that sucked, and that was a lot, staying would have cost me so much more. So I packed my things up, got into my car, and I drove 2,000 miles across the country back home to California. And on the way, anybody that knows me knows that if you are in the car with me, you will get a front row seat to my concert. So all the way home, I was listening to Adele and Taylor Swift breakup songs, Spotify seeming to know exactly what I was feeling. Just hope in the windshield and heartbreak in the rearview mirror. And I drove 2,000 miles back to the very home that broke me. I had no other option but to move back. I knew that moving to a new state, I had no clients, I had no income, I had lost everything, the house, the cars, the dogs, I left everything and he took the rest. But the one thing that he didn't take, or there's many things that he didn't take from me actually, was the emotional fire that I had inside me, the drive, the ability to tell a story, and my determination to succeed no matter what. I talked earlier about turning traumas into trophies. And trophy number one was the freedom of walking away. This is the hardest part of leaving a relationship like this that is so gripping. And anybody in this room that has been in an abusive relationship knows that leaving is the hardest thing in the world to do. It happens to the strongest women. It is not women who are ignorant. It is not women who are weak. It's a psychological manipulation that happens, that takes such a hold on your life that anybody who has not been in one, it's just so hard to explain what's going on mentally. And when you grow up in an abusive home, it's repeating the cycle, unknowingly repeating the cycle until it finally glares you so deeply in the face and the soul that you can no longer ignore it. Building my business back in California, in this home, I didn't know how I was going to rebuild everything in the home that broke me. How was I going to heal from heartbreak, abuse, neglect, losing my business, losing everything that I had in my life? By myself. But I knew that my drive was going to get me there. So I spent the next year working on trophy number 2, which was building my business. I went to networking events. I would cry in between going to all these networking events, just knowing that I was going to get there one day. It was extremely hard. And the first 8 months that I was back, I hardly made any money. I think I maybe made $20,000 total in 8 months. And I was like, I'm never getting out of here. It was so crippling, and it was so harrowing, and it was so isolating. And I just did not know how I was going to succeed. And it made me go through this wave of emotions. Maybe I should have just stayed. I wouldn't have lost everything if I would have just stayed. But I kept going, and I didn't quit. And as of 2 months ago, the floodgates opened. And now I'm drowning in work, which is fantastic. That 8-month point, I told you I had only made $20,000. By the end of this year, I will surpass 6 figures. The message that I wanted you to take away from that piece of this trophy, is you may see me struggle, but you will never see me quit. And it is so hard for the universe to defeat someone who just doesn't give up. No matter how much adversity you're facing, to be an inspiration to people and know that you can do this and you can inspire so many other people to do it too. Trophy number 3 was the community that I built because of my decision. It's hard to see yourself receiving if you just keep holding on. You have no room to receive what is meant for you. You hold on to this vision that you think is right for you because it's hard to let go. But what happens when you finally do and you trust yourself and you trust that process is a rallying of support. It's so hard to see that when you're first coming into it. But as someone who left Madison a complete wreck and is now standing here on this stage to tell you how I turned this around, let go. You're ready to let go of the things that are in your way, the things that are becoming those obstacles on the mountain that you are trying to climb, the mountain that we are all trying to climb. Trophy number 4 was choosing me. Something that I had such a hard time learning as a little girl. Choosing me, what did that mean? And over the last year, I have learned what that meant to choose me. Meditation and yoga, self-reflection, building my business, doing things that truly mattered to me. While all of these things have been metaphorical trophies, there is one trophy that was an actual one, and that is my trophy number 5. When I first moved back to Sacramento, I was telling people a little bit about my story, not as in-depth as detail as I'm telling you all now. But word got around that Jamie's back home, and this is kind of why she's back, in a place that she never imagined coming back to. Enough people found out, and they nominated me for the National Association of Women Business Owners Outstanding Women Leaders Award for Achievement Against All Odds for what brought me back. And this trophy sits on my desk every day. Most of my stuff is still sitting in the garage. I brought out something very limited that I could live on while living in this house and trying to rebuild my life. This trophy reminds me that this physical trophy is nice to look at, but the real trophy is you. When you finally allow yourself to look in the mirror and acknowledge the person looking back at you. And you are okay with the person looking back at you. And you can look deep into her eyes or his eyes and their heart and soul, and you are okay with where you are. You have accepted yourself, and you don't let that little child dictate and put you in the victim role as an adult. You become the victor of your life. Storytelling is incredibly important, and I'm so happy to be able to do all of these things. You have to truly work on, successful people work on who they need to be to get to where they want to be in life. And if it doesn't challenge you, it won't change you. Getting up on stage to tell these stories like this is so important, and I encourage you all to do the same. Share your stories, even when your voice shakes. I want to give a sincere thank you to all of you who are in here who gave me the safe space to be able to tell this. This was a huge moment of my journey, and this is a core memory that I will never forget. I also want to thank the women that have shared their stories tonight and Midwest Mujeres for giving us the platform to be able to do this and hopefully inspire all of you. I love you, Madison. You will forever be a second home to me. Thank you.